1. So myself and the other front desk agent were at the front desk during a slow 3 to 11 shift, when a guest came from the pool area and told us there was a fire coming from the dryer vent by the pool. I didn't believe him, but knowing it's better to be safe than sorry and housekeeping had already left for the day, I decided to peek in the housekeeping room, and sure enough, there was a fire visible through the glass door of the dryer. I was in disbelief, a bit astounded at what I was seeing, but the other front desk agent got the fire extinguisher off the wall. My jaw is still on the floor at this point, and she was struggling to pull the pin, so I gathered my sanity and pulled the pin. I so fearfully head to the dryer that is engulfed in massive flames, and sprayed the extinguisher into the dryer for maybe 5 seconds. All the while still in total shock that this is real life and not some movie. The fire seemed to have gone out, so I closed the door to the dryer and figured we should just wait for the fire department to arrive. Lo and behold, there was still some more smoke that came out from the now ruined dryer. I looked around again, still in disbelief, as a guest came to the front desk again as we were waiting for the fire department, telling us that there was still fire coming out of the vents by the pool. I once again peeked into the housekeeping area, and of course the dryer was fully up in flames again. This time seemed a lot worse. I'm a rather tall person, so standing around in all that smoke while I attempt to put the flames out for the second time was pretty difficult. I could hardly breathe. I opened the dryer again and sprayed it until there was too much smoke. I had to crouch down to avoid the smoke for as long as I could, but the other front desk agent told me to get out, so I turned and left. I was not sure if I had put out the fire, but I had sprayed the extinguisher for a while. Once we got out and back to the lobby, the guest that had told us about the fire was still there, and asked if he should pull the fire alarm. Seconds after asking, the fire alarm began blaring, and I started walking up and down the first floor, knocking on each door to get people evacuated. While I was walking the floor to get people out, the other front desk agent with me had been manning the front desk, and said someone called from the room, and they had a wheelchair-bound person on the 4th floor. So I called over our housemen and went to the 4th floor via the stairs, since the elevators were out to help this guest. Once I explained to the guest what was happening, they told me they would return the chair to the room and carry her wheelchair-bound son down to evacuate since he was pretty small. I left the housemen to oversee this and went back down to the desk and answered the phone, hoping it was fire people, and thankfully it was. They said they got an alert for their fire device or something along those lines, and I confirmed it was a fire and to send people. They understood and hung up. I continued looking for any straggler guests until the other front desk agent called me over and we got out of the building. Throughout this whole time, I'm communicating with managers to keep everyone in the loop as best I can. We were outside for 2 or 3 minutes when a white pickup truck came, and out came a guy I recognized from inspections of our firing system and some young kid that looked to be my age, 20s. Skeptical but hopeful for help, we walk back into the building, and I opened the door to housekeeping where the fire originated. Once they saw all the smoke, so much that you could not see the fire through the smoke, they radioed for a fire truck. I couldn't believe that no fire truck was on the way until that moment. We went back outside and I spoke with more managers on the phone, and I told the other front desk agents to go to the back side of the building, to be a smiling face for the guests, and to be sure no one went inside. Moments later, the first fire engine arrived, and they got out and brought a hose through the front door. After that, it was just a lot of waiting and calling managers. At some point, I spoke to the guy that first arrived, and he told me that the fire was not out yet. Later, when it was out, they brought some fans, and I was allowed to go back in to change the sliding doors so they would stay open. There was water gushing from the opening housekeeping door by the elevators. I went back outside, and after some time, they brought me back in, and they showed me the carnage. Super surreal. I was told to film everything by our general manager. There was a sprinkler behind the dryer they couldn't turn off all the way, and that wasn't shut off completely for hours. Absolutely everything in housekeeping had been scorched into nothing, then soaked by the hose. I talked with the fireman for a while and showed him the riser and the fire panel, and eventually they said we could let guests back in. I don't know how long everyone was out. I wasn't watching the clock enough. I found our houseman and got him started on cleanup. Then I found my fellow front desk agent that was with me at the back and told her the plan, and we got everyone back in and answered questions. I was telling everyone multiple times to avoid the lobby since there was so much water. Once some of the fire trucks left, our maintenance man came a couple of minutes later, and I let him deal with the firemen while the other front desk agent and I checked in guests and advised people to avoid the lobby and the water. The dryer that burned had towels in it, and the debris got washed around with the water made a large mess. I also heard a firefighter saying the water was up to their ankles during the extinguishing process. I left after most people were dealt with, like 3 hours after my shift was supposed to end, and people for the most part weren't that mad. I think we refunded 4 people in a 109-room hotel. All of our washing and drying machines were out except one, so we had to do all our laundry at our sister property down the street for a week. This was absolutely insane, and we are still getting the occasional phone call from a cheapskate guest that wants a refund for the inconvenience of having to evacuate the hotel for an hour at 8 p.m. for a fire we couldn't control. On the bright side, I got promoted to front desk supervisor, and it's been a great challenge so far. 2. Barely 30 minutes into my night audit shift, a man approaches the front desk with a cell phone in his hand. He asks me if I recognize the person on the lock screen. I do not, but as it turns out, it's a new co-worker who just started, and with whom I've had maybe 10 minutes of interaction. There are also notifications blocking the screen, so I can't really see. I don't think anything of it. I tell the guest I don't know whose the phone is, but I'll log it in Lost and Found, and if anyone asks for it, I'll make sure they get it back. And then it got strange. Well, if anyone's missing a phone, just send them to my room and I'll give it back to them. That's not something I'm comfortable doing. I won't send someone to a stranger's room to get their belongings. We have a Lost and Found protocol to handle it. He's actively trying to open the phone. That is not his with Face ID. Well, I'm not comfortable just leaving this with you. I'm just going to hold on to it and ask again in the morning. Sir, if you... Dude just shrugs and walks away. Now, the way our front desk is situated, by the time I could have got to the hallway to keep talking to him, he would have been halfway to his room. Not only that, but this guy easily has 100 pounds on me, and I'm not a small man. I wasn't about to get into an altercation over someone else's phone. I figure if anyone asks about a missing phone, I'll just harass Weird Guy until he wakes up and take care of it. About 15 minutes later, my new co-worker walks into the hotel and says he's going to Weird Guy's room to get his phone. Apparently he used Find My Phone app on his laptop and called it and talked to this guy. I stop him immediately. Do not go down there. You should never go into an occupied guest room alone if you can help it. And especially when you're not on the clock, just stay here and I'll call him. Hi, you were speaking with my co-worker who is the owner of the phone you have? Please bring it to the front desk so he can have his property back. Yep, just send him down here. I've already told you I won't be doing that. For everyone's safety, you need to come to the lobby and meet him, not the other way around. The Weird Guy hangs up. I advise my co-worker to go to the back office so when this guy shows up, he'll have the desk between us. After a few minutes, when Weird Guy hasn't come to the desk, I ring the room again. He picks up and immediately hangs up. At this point, I have zero patience for people playing stupid games. I call the cops, tell them this guy is intentionally withholding someone else's property, and acting in a way that makes me believe he has ulterior motives. He needs to relinquish the phone and be escorted from the property. Cops show up, get the guy to cough up the phone, then spend almost an hour dicking around by the guy's room because he's taking his sweet time being evicted. When he's finally gone, I kill his keys and inspect the room for damage. What do I find in the room? His cell phone. About 2 hours later, his wife shows up at the hotel and tries to go to the room. She can't because the keys don't work. I have to inform her that her husband was asked to leave the property and is no longer a guest here. Now, I would be 100% in the right to tell her that her husband left his phone, and he'd need a police escort to return to the property to claim it. But at this point, I'm done with the whole thing, verify her ID, give her the phone, and wish her luck finding out where her husband is found to stay for the night. I have no idea what this guy's thought process was, but there's no universe where I would ever send someone, guest or employee, off the clock to some random's room to get their personal property. Dude must have had some savior complex and wanted to be acknowledged for finding the phone, instead of just turning it in like a normal person. 3. Hi, I'm a 21-year-old female, and now an FOS. Yay! At a large hotel in a tourist area in New York State. I've been in hospitality for 3 years now and 3 hotels in that time, this being my 3rd, and I started here 3 months ago as a night auditor. I don't want to make it seem like I'm bragging, but I'm really freaking good at my job and dedicate everything I am to do the best I can at it. I quit my last hotel because the front office manager was a very racist and sexist man who would call me in the middle of the day while I was sleeping to come fix mistakes he made so he could blame them on me, and told me how, since I'm black, I obviously know that I can't ever be as good as other male and white coworkers of mine. I'm not exaggerating with that. He actually said that to me multiple times. Now, I am in this new hotel, and my FOD is an immigrant woman and my manager is a gay man, and are both the greatest people. A supervisor position opened up here and my manager told me that I should apply, so I did. There was another employee, Happy, who wanted the position really, really bad. And to be fair, it could have been either of us who got it. She has also worked at this hotel for over a year now and has done a good job in that time. But once she learned that I applied for it, she started to try and make sure I didn't get it. Any little mistake I could have made was an email to management with me CC'd in it, or it was a call-out on days that she knew we were busy, so I would have to work alone. Or if I tried to correct her, she told me that she knows better than me, and that I'm better off just shutting up because she'll be my supervisor soon. Or the icing on the cake was a night that I was supposed to work alone. I came in, and she and her work bestie were at the desk at 11, and were completely ignoring me until around 11:30, where they told me we were oversold and I had to walk someone. And then they just stood at the desk doing nothing, while I scrabbled for hours to find a place to send someone. And then, they also left all the room calls that were received while I was working on resolving the situation, for me to do when I finished with the walk. Fast forward a month, and we have our supervisor interviews, and a couple of days later, Happy and I are working at 3 to 11 together. And I get called into HR and I'm told I have the job. Then they call her in around 4 p.m., and then I don't see her for 2 hours because she was having a breakdown in the HR office, yelling and screaming about how I shouldn't have gotten it, and then she went home early at 6 p.m. Now, every shift I work with her, she has left early, 3 to 5 hours before her shift is supposed to end, and has refused to do work and absolutely will not talk to me. She walked off the job yesterday, 2 hours early, as soon as I got to the desk, and is now getting written up for it. The other night, I asked her work bestie why she's being ridiculous about it, and she flat out told me that it's because I don't deserve it. That I just started here and Happy has been here for a year, and despite my experience in hotels, and how good I am, I should just stick to night audit because that's what I'm good at. Then she told me that Happy obviously didn't get the job because she's an immigrant and management is racist. For some perspective, I'm half black, half Hispanic, first-gen woman, so I definitely have had my fair share of prejudices placed against me. And one thing I can say is that is simply not the reason why she didn't get the job. By the way, her work bestie is also an FOS, and everyone hates her. I told management what was said to me, and they agree that's unacceptable to speak to me that way, and have her written up for it. There are also more details to this story, but you all get the gist. I have to dread coming to work because I know that I'm either going to get my self-esteem torn down, left to work alone when it's so busy, or ridiculed for everything I do and say. Was applying for this position a bad idea? I don't even know anymore. 4. I am the front desk manager at a privately owned motel. I just had a woman call saying she couldn't get out of her room. She calls 10 times in 10 minutes, freaking out. After I had already told her that I had maintenance on the way, please be patient. Maintenance calls and he is running late and gives me a couple of things I could try. So I go up to the room and try my master key. I get a double red and green lights, meaning the deadbolt is locked or the door needs new batteries. I ask her if the deadbolt was on. She says no. I go and get our black box, which can open doors and read reports on the door itself. I open her door no problem with the black box. She asked if she could switch rooms, as this is the second time this has happened today. I say sure, no problem. She starts telling me that I owed her an apology, and she needed to be compensated for it. I tell her, ma'am, over the phone I apologized multiple times, was quite sympathetic to your issues. I'm sorry, but considering that I was able to get your door open and move you to a different one, that is all I can do. She said she needed help moving her stuff. I told her to pack everything up and to call down to the office when she was done, and I would help her. While I was waiting, I looked at the black box's diagnostics of the door. The lady had the damn deadbolt on the entire time. I laughed really hard all the way back up there when she called me to help her move. Before I let her in the new room, while she was right there, I opened it from the outside, went in, and opened it with no issues from the inside. I told her everything was good. She calls back down to the office not 15 minutes later, saying now she can't get out of this room. I tell her she needs to unlock the deadbolt to open the door. She starts demanding I give her a refund for the next couple of days. 1, we don't offer refunds for user error, and 2, a church had brought her in and paid for 3 nights for her, so even if I wanted to, I couldn't give her a refund. I tell her politely as possible that I can't because the church paid for her. She starts yelling this is why she wanted the church to just give her the money, and rambling on about other things. Eventually, I had to tell her that she either needed to stay in her room and stop causing problems, or I would have to call the police. As she's hanging up the phone, I heard her tell whoever was in the room with her, I guess we will have to find another way to go pick up that hard. Which in my area is a slang term for crack. 5. Hello to all my fellow front desk people. I'm finally getting to tell my own crazy story. I work audit for a 150-room property, and we happen to be completely sold out for mostly a Morgan Wallen concert in town. It was probably the busiest shift I've had so far. I didn't really get a break from the people either buying things from our market, requesting sundries or blankets and towels, reporting issues with the rooms or late check-ins. I think I had around 20 left when I got in at 11 that night to see the poor, distressed mid-shift guy ready to book it out of there. Finally, around 3:40 a.m. when I'm doing my nightly audit, the lobby has completely cleared, and the sweet sound of silence had filled the hotel once again. I got to the back, and all seems good until the phone rings. No big deal. I go out to answer it, and it's coming from one of my rooms on the first floor.
Hey, how do you dial out from the phones in the room?
Oh, okay, it's just a call for that, except I have no idea what exactly to press to do that, but I do know there is a list of the commands for the phone printed on the phone somewhere. I make a mental note to check with the day shift in the morning, as that question has not come up for me yet, and answer. I think there should be a list of numbers on the phone that should give you the number to press to dial out. If you can't find that, though, you're more than welcome to come to the front desk, and I would be happy to let you use the phone at the desk to call out. In between this, I hear a squeak of sneakers coming up to the desk, but keep my gaze down to show that I am currently in the middle of a call.
Okay, thanks.
And she hangs up. I put the phone down, and instinctively greet and ask how I may assist. Cue drunk lady number 2.
Hey, could you call and see if other hotels in the area or the one next door has any vacancies?
Sure, I would be happy to take a look, but most of the places are booked up for the night. Are you okay? It was toward the end of that sentence that I finally looked up and had taken a good look at the person in front of me. They were standing there, the front of their shirt completely covered in blood down to the front. Her face was a little swollen, and it looked like she had been in a fight. Nothing that would have produced that much blood, but I wasn't putting that together at the time.
I'm fine. I just need to find another place to stay tonight. I can't stay here tonight,
she said as she began to tear up a little and proceeded to fight the tears back. Are you sure? Do I need to call the police?
No, really, I'm fine. I just need...
She stopped. She had seen my security guard walking in the door from their hourly rounds.
You know what? It might be easier if I just go over there and ask. I'm sorry.
She then briskly walks out the door, with her bag in her hand, and my security guard comes up to me bewildered. I quickly relay that the woman just walked out of here covered in blood, and I was trying to figure out if she was all right. So the security guard, also concerned, runs out the door to check with her and make sure she's okay. Then the phone rings once again. It's the first drunk lady from before.
Hey, do you dial out from those phones?
It was like the previous call we just had never happened. Well, as I said before, there should be a little note on the phone that tells you how to do that, or I would be happy to help you do that at the front desk. Is there something I can help you with?
No, I just need to call out. I can't stay here tonight. I just got my ass kicked. My eye is completely swollen shut. I need to call my boyfriend to come get me.
It was at this point I put two and two together that this woman and the other woman were together. Are you okay? Do I need to call the police or an ambulance?
No, I just need to call my boyfriend.
Okay, if you want to come to the front desk, I would be happy to help you do that. I don't actually know how to dial out from those phones in the rooms. I'm still pretty new at this job. I think there is a little note on the phones, but if that isn't there, please come to the front and I can help you.
Okay.
She hangs up. It's about this time my security guard comes in, and had about as much luck with Drunk Lady 2 as I had in terms of getting information or helping them. I tell the security guard what just transpired, and she goes up to the room to check on Drunk Lady 1. They contact me on the walkie-talkies we have and tell me that Drunk Lady 1 is not answering the door, and it sounds like she had actually barricaded it when she heard the security person knocking. So at this point, my hands are tied, I'm worried about what's going on, and I call the police to do a wellness check on the room. It takes the police about 15 minutes to get there. In the meantime, I get 2 more calls from Drunk Lady 1. They both go about the same as the previous one did.
Hey, how do you dial out from these phones?
As I explained before, I don't actually know. Could you please come out and speak with my security guard?
I just need to call my boyfriend.
I understand. We have police on the way to do a wellness check, and they will help you out with that.
Okay.
She hangs up again. Okay, this is weird. It seems like she's just not hearing anything I tell her, or she is very seriously injured and not thinking right. Either way, I'm scared for her now. I get another call, and it goes almost word for word exactly like that. Finally, the police show up, and we explain the situation. The police go to the room, and we spend 20 minutes coaxing this woman to answer the door. All the while, I'm still getting phone calls from her.
Hey, do you know how to dial out from these phones?
Ma'am, I have the police here. I need you to come out and speak with them so they can make sure that you're okay.
I need to call my boyfriend.
Okay, sure, no problem. Go ahead and answer your door, and the police will assist you with that.
Okay.
She hangs up again. I get 3 more calls like that, with various attempts to get this woman to open the door, and relaying to the security guard through the walkie-talkie what is happening. They are with the police. Finally, she answered the door, and this woman had been beaten and battered to hell and back, completely covered in blood but standing. Her eye was more swollen than anything I have ever seen in real life. It made me sick to my stomach to see. She refuses to give any information to the police about the incident, she refuses medical treatment, and does not wish to press charges on the other woman, whom is being spoken to by other police at the nearby property she walked to. Neither of them ended up pressing charges, the second drunk lady for obvious reasons, and to this day I have no idea what actually transpired in that room. They got the lady to the front desk, and I let her call her boyfriend on the phone we have here, but he never picked up any of the calls she sent. She goes back to her room, and the police tell me there isn't really anything they can do but make a report on the incident. Since Drunk Lady 1 is on her feet and able to respond to questions, arguably, they cannot force medical treatment on her. She must have had a completely fractured orbital socket in her eye because, again, her face was the worst I have ever seen in real life. I'm worried this woman is going to go back to her room and sleep and end up dying or something. I send the police back 2 times to her room to really make sure she will not at least take medical treatment before they leave. I'm left at the desk, completely dumbfounded on what to do. I write up a report for the daily shift and finish out letting the morning person know everything that happened and to expect the room to be completely trashed. All I know after that is the woman ended up leaving for better or worse. No one actually saw her go. The room was completely smashed up and bloody. A lot of things had to be thrown out. I believe they ended up charging around $1,200 in damages to Drunk Lady 2, who had bought the room originally, and I have not heard anything else about it. I really hope Morgan Wallen never comes back to town. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Coahw, episode 123. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do poke the like button, and share the video around with friends and family if you'd like to do so. If you'd like to get the videos a little bit earlier, you can support me through my Patreon, which is linked in the description. It's also on screen right now. Hellfreezer. You'll also find a link to the Hellfreezer merchandise store on Teespring, and you can make donations during streams or videos just like this one. While this is not required, I do very much appreciate it, and it helps me out with life stuff. Okay, let's see. I don't think there's any shoutouts today, so let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is: how often do you find when there's really popular people, like big names, like celebrities or YouTubers, yes, there is a distinction, that you've never heard of them until they get into trouble? I find frequently, I think almost all of them, I've never heard of these people. And in fact, the only one I had sort of heard of recently was, I can't even remember her name, the weird ukulele apology chick, or whatever it was she was playing. But yeah, weirdness. And I think that's an indicator of just how big YouTube is. You can literally have millions and millions of followers and people won't know who you are. There's a lesson to be learned there. Sadly, not a lot of people learn it. Let me know what you think in a comment below. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.